You're listening to the Third Watch Update for December 23rd, 2016. We are 2 days from Christmas, as you know. And I'm shaking from head to toe. And I'm very uncomfortable with what I see is about to happen or could happen. There's some possibilities here. You can judge for yourself. I'm just going to throw it out there. Since the exposure of the Podesta emails, there are a couple things that cannot be ignored. It is a well-known fact that Satan has sacrificed children. Okay, how it ends up there, there's a lot of different methods, right? Thought control, all of it comes down to fear. Okay, if you're afraid of this, then of course, then you're not prepared to handle this. But let's not be afraid. You got to understand the tactics of your adversary, or you really are going to walk into a situation that you're not prepared for. And I don't know that even while prepared, you still could be caught off on surprise. And I'm thinking about December 7th, 1941, when my dad told me this story when he was 9 years old. He was listening to the radio, and they intently listened as the carnage of the attack on Pearl Harbor. When I think about Christmas Day, and I think about where we're at in history, I'm thinking about all the moving parts, what's going on globally, geopolitically, and the adversarial relationship that the media has with Donald Trump. There are a couple of things that come to mind when I think about this. I'm not looking to take sides on this issue, but I'm just going to tell you what I see, okay? Christmas Day being a very high holiday for Christians, it's celebrating Jesus' birth, even while many people believe and know that Jesus could have been easily born either in the spring or born in September, okay? Christians celebrate it, okay? They might not celebrate the pagan ritual, which is dancing around a tree. There's a pagan ritual, but one of the pagan rituals is always to offer sacrifices, okay? We got to understand what the blood covenant really means on the Christian end of it, and you got to understand the blood covenant on the satanic end. See, Satan loves to let everyone know that he doesn't exist. He's just this silly, funny man that's a good-looking, attractive guy with a red tail. It just simply doesn't go like that, okay? That's TV. If you watch a lot of TV, you probably saw that story about Lucifer. Okay, and there's a reason why we need to understand the fallen nature, because we all have a fallen nature, and our struggle is always going to be, as human beings, the human side and the supernatural, spiritual side. And unless we really see it for what it is and understand the Bible, it lays out a scenario of events before it even happens. So now we're reading things that came forth thousands of years ago, and it's now reaching a headline news. That was the whole point to the topic, Third Watch. Because if you're on a watch, and if you're working, quote, the graveyard shift being a lot of people work the third shift, third watch. A lot of things happen in the dark that don't happen in the light, okay? I don't want to be the one to break it to you guys, but I mean, I look at what the actions of some of the leaders, and I'm looking at, see, they don't have to say anything. I'm just watching them and watching their actions, and we're watching the puzzle pieces play together. You know, when I was a little girl, I remember my mom telling me a story how, run for cover, duck for cover, the Russians are coming, and guess what? Growing up like that is scary, okay? Run, and nothing ever happened. But see, I think Russia plays a huge role. It'll be lured in, dragged in some way. It's being dragged into this battlefield, and all this blame is going on Russia for the Podesta emails and exposure. There's a possibility it could have happened that way. The truth came out, though, and it's hard to ignore that, but it would be enough reason for right now, 30 days left in Barack Obama's, or Barry Sartori, I'm sorry, because we don't know really who he is. I mean, he says he's Barack Obama, but on his birth certificate, but the chief investigators, learned that is a fraudulent document that was placed on a government website. If any of us handed a government agent a false doctrine, we would be in jail in a heartbeat. But this guy walks around, he's flying, and what's going on? Because he could easily start World War III before Donald Trump becomes president. I don't understand. Either we're going to be like sitting ducks, and we're going to wait till this day comes, and there's a opportunity to catch people off guard. See, I do read the Bible, and I do understand that the Bible says it will happen on a day you don't see it coming. And I don't know what else to say. Either we're right in that area right now, we're either there or we're not. We're at a tipping point. I think everybody has decision points in their personal life. And I was watching a video about the fires in either California, I'm not quite sure, or Oakland, the fire. That was those kids walked in there thinking they were going to a rave. They didn't know that they were going to be an ultimate sacrifice. Look at the days and the times and look at what's going on, because pagan rituals is all about sacrifice. And looking at all these dead children, or hearing stories about dead children, whether they're raped or murdered, and you go out and you have to try to walk away from that topic and try to put some sense to it, because the average person I work with, the average person that you drive past, no one sees it coming, and that's the danger. They don't even see it coming. We don't talk about it amongst ourselves, and by the time you get to the point you try to explain this, it might be too late. I don't know. I don't want to see that happen, but you can't have just a regular discussion. That they call it counterterrorism for a reason. If you know every business in that business park does not understand that they do OPSEC, and there's reasons why police do patrols. If the police are in this kind of danger, and the soldiers or veterans are in this kind of danger, and the average person just pretends like this is not an issue, or they don't get it. See, I've talked to people on the street, and they're telling me they know, well aware of what's up, and that they made sure they corrected me, and I was like, good. At least I know where they stand, because a lot of people I've seen, customers in and out of the grocery store, were telling me this yesterday. They know what's up. These people know what's up. And I'm just walking up to them, talking to them, and I learned a lot yesterday. And today I'm realizing that the people on the ground understand what's going on. They might not fully get it. They might think they're adversarial, but when push comes to shove, I think the immediate thing is to have your guard up. And they realize that you're not a threat to them, and we start talking. But otherwise, I know that the public is guarded. Absolutely. I saw it yesterday. I see it every day. They know that there's a reason why police are doing patrols, for the safety of the community, for the safety of your area, and you have to be that much smarter. You can do Crime Watch in your community. You can do it around your job. If you understand OPSEC, you have to understand the danger that each of us are in if we're not taking the initiative, if we're not part of that Crime Watch community. You don't have to be a part of, quote, a Crime Watch to do OPSEC. Security is absolutely necessary today, and it's to our own destruction if we don't pay attention. I can go up and talk to people because I just have this gift to just reach out to them. I'm fortunate to have that. I'm troubled in the areas like, I don't want to be in conflict with my faith, okay? I don't want to make this about religion, because you know what? I'm the last person to be telling you how to do things right here when it comes to religious stuff, okay? That's just not my department. But I do understand that the religious issues that are presented in the world today are convoluted and confusing, and it just comes down to something simple. I'm not sure what goes on in these churches. I don't know why some of the churches in our region are renting to imams. I have to tell you, it's enough to keep me away from the church. You know what I mean? I don't have to go to church to have faith in Jesus Christ. And I don't have to go to church in a building to find Jesus. He's right here. I get a chance to talk to him anytime I want. Unfortunately, what turned a lot of us off at church is that this religious thumb in their nose at people, and it just doesn't work by today's standards. You can't do that. It throws people off, and it's defensiveness that causes people to have their guard up to begin with. So I can't go over them and start giving them the riot act and say, hey, you're not doing this. You know what? They're just trying to barely get by. So, I have a lot of conflict with these things. I'm not going to sit here and try to take a job of a pastor and preacher, which I know pastor and preachers. There's some really good, decent ones that get it. But there's some people that really taking advantage of a system that can only work for so long. If you're turning your back on people that need you and they're guarded and defensive, there's a reason. And I saw that. And once their guard was down, they got talking to me. And that's the good part, is that once you get past all the reasons people are defensive, and you realize that they feel that danger, they sense danger. Listen, if you have a sixth sense about something, every time I ever went with my sixth sense, I was I'd say 99% right. That is survival. I mean, when the sixth sense comes in, then you're in survival mode. I don't want to live my life surviving one situation or another. You want to get to the point where it's not about survival, it's about living. And the things that get us up in the morning and provoke us to talk about these topics is the very reason. Do we have to wake up Christmas Day and have the shock that my dad and many people grew up around that time, December 7th, to know that it could happen at any moment, that someone who has, wants to press that red button and it's over? I don't want to sit here and try to dissect this topic. I'm just concerned that there's some people that have itchy fingers. Okay, that kind of concerns me. And I think that relates to a lot of things. You want somebody responsible. And when I talk about responsible journalism, I'm not throwing all these journalists under the bus. It's just not going to happen. I know people who are responsible enough, and are responsible people out there that know what to do. It's just, you have to add a voice to that, and we have to be able to talk to each other, whether it be at work, at home, even at church, okay? We got to be able to talk about it. We don't want people ratting people out, throwing people under the bus. There's a time and a place, but when it comes to initial safety of your neighbors at work, at school, you want to be able to communicate, okay? That's the key to all this. Is we don't want to be throwing teachers under the bus, especially if they're trying to do the right thing. You know what I mean? That's why I think the more you get to know people, the guard comes down, you realize they're not out to hurt you, and it's like, wow, we actually agree about something. In fact, sometimes even more so. So I've learned something about that communication barrier. We've got to break down that wall of communication. Forget the Facebook wall, because maybe that in itself is keeping people from talking about these topics. It's going to come down to talking to somebody around you, feeling them out, asking what they think about terrorism or whatever. Who do you think is the real terrorist? You'd be surprised what you're going to get. Okay, this doesn't mean that every person that practices the Muslim faith is out to get you. That's not what this is about. This is about overall protecting your community from the dangers that we face. The idea that kids could be in the kind of dangers as suggested in Pedogate just should tell you something, because once kids are in this kind of danger, we're all in that kind of danger. Thank you for listening. I hope you guys always pay attention to what's going on and at least articulate this issue the best you can. Be able to communicate, and if you can't communicate, learn more about the topic. And I guarantee you'll be, as long as you have head knowledge, book knowledge of this, because really you're going to be probably the most important person at the right time to help calm somebody down. The last thing you want to do is overreact, and don't allow people to upset you. A lot of times I think that's the idea. They want to disrupt the social order, and it's not about just getting angry. It means about action. You can only be angry for so long, and that can actually do more damage than good. You just start acting in the right way. You look out for each other. You talk to each other. And I guarantee you'll be able to diffuse a lot of arguments and debates with people if you just learn how to communicate the right way. We don't want people on the defensive. We don't want to sit there and argue amongst each other. You're not going to get anywhere. If you have people that are confrontational, you just need to walk away. It's just that simple. I don't know how many times I've had to walk away from confrontational people. They're just not, first of all, they're not the mature people, and they like to intimidate people. That's the whole point to being confrontational. There's an appropriate time to communicate and confront issues, and it's always not at the right time. So you just wait for the right time and discuss it and communicate it, and I guarantee you'll be way more effective than those people that are looking to intimidate and be confrontational. Thank you for listening.